Guess what? An objection is actually not a rejection. An objection is a fear wearing a practical mask. I can't afford it is actually never about money. And I need more time is usually never about time. You stop trying to argue with the objection and you start trying to get underneath it. You stop defending your offer and you start understanding the person. I need to think about it. I can't afford that right now. I need to speak to my partner first. It's just not the right time. I've tried things like this before and it really didn't work out. If you're doing any volume of sales calls, then you've probably heard all of these. And if you're like most women early on in their sales journey, when you hear those words, you probably get a feeling of dread. Like the call just went somewhere kind of bad. Like you need to wrap it up and gracefully end it just to preserve the relationship. So you say, oh, of course, no problem. And you just end the call. And you mark it as a maybe in your head, but deep down, you kind of know that it's a no. So here's what I want to tell you about objections. They are not the end of the sales call. Guess what? They are the beginning of the sales call because objections mean that the person is still in the room, that the person is still thinking about it, and the person is still contemplating it. They haven't left, and objections are actually good news. Welcome to the High Ticket Portal podcast. I'm Vanessa Carling. Today, we're talking everything about objections, what they actually mean, why do they happen, and exactly how to handle the 5 most common objections in the high ticket sales area without manipulating, without being pushy, and without feeling like you just want to crawl out of your skin by the end of the call. First, let's talk about what objections actually are, because I think most people misunderstand this whole concept. Guess what? An objection is actually not a rejection. An objection is a fear wearing a practical mask. I can't afford it is actually never about money. And I need more time is usually never about time. What an objection almost always is the person's survival brain trying to protect from the vulnerability of investing in themselves, from the possibility of being let down again, from the terror of actually changing this time. And when you understand that, when you truly get that the objection is fear and not logic, everything in you and how you respond changes because you stop trying to argue with the objection and you start trying to get underneath it. You stop defending your offer and you start understanding the person. So let's go to the big 5. And I want to give you both what the objection is actually saying and what you can do about it. Objection numero 1. I need to think about it. This is the most common one. And it's also the most vague one, which is exactly why it's so hard to handle it if you don't really know what it means. I need to think about it almost always means one of 2 things. Either I don't have enough information yet to feel certain about this, so AKA I need more information, or I know the answer is yes and I'm scared of it. Both of those are workable. Neither of them is the person saying, I don't want this, this is a no. So here's what you say. Not, of course, take your time, let me know when you want to have a chat. Not, here's my email so you can just message me when you're ready. What you say is, absolutely. Can I ask you, what specifically is it that you need to think through? Because whatever's on your mind, I'd love to work through it with you right now. And then you wait, because what she tells you next, or he, is exactly what the actual hesitation is all about. And now you're in a real conversation. Quick tip, you actually have to wait after you make that statement. So many people jump in and start to defend and argue and show a bunch of information. You have to make this statement and actually wait. Objection 2. I can't afford it. This one makes women collapse faster than almost any other objection because it feels final. It feels like this is it. It feels like an immovable fact. The money just isn't there. So what is there to say? Here's what's almost always what's actually happening. She's telling you she can't afford it because she hasn't processed what it would mean to her if she actually went through with it. The money conversation hasn't been had yet. The value hasn't fully landed yet. So what you say, you go, I hear you. Can I ask you, if money wasn't an issue here, would this be something that you really want to do? Because if the answer is yes, then the conversation is about how, not if. And if the answer is no, then money isn't really the objection. It's something else. So now you can get into the real thing. Never argue about money, but don't let I can't afford it just be the end of the conversation until you're sure about, is this the real conversation? Is money really the real conversation? Or has your potential client not fully seen the value of what you're offering? Or is it genuinely not a good fit for them? Then it's still not a money problem. Objection number 3, I need to speak to my partner. And this one can feel really delicate. And I do want to approach it with care because sometimes this is very real and very valid. Big financial decisions often generally do need to be made with people's partners. And I totally respect that. And you should too. But there's a version of this objection that's a deflection. And the way to tell the difference is to ask them warmly. Don't do this in a confrontational way. You go, absolutely, I completely understand. What do you think your partner's concerns would be if you do ask them? Because if the person on the phone can articulate that clearly, then that person already knows them. And the person's already had that conversation with their partner in their head. And then you can address that right there on the phone. If the person goes, I'm not so sure, it often means that the person hasn't made their own decision yet. And the partner becomes a convenient reason to delay the process. The question to ask yourself on the call is this: does this woman feel fully certain about what she wants? Because a woman who's completely clear on her decision doesn't usually need their partner's permission. She needs their awareness, but that's different. A quick little note here too. If you are in high ticket sales and you are going to close really, really big deals with people on the phone, before you schedule that call, make sure to ask them if they have a partner that needs to be present on the call with them to make big financial decisions. Objection number 4, it's not the right time. This one is the one that requires the most honesty from you because sometimes it's genuinely not the right time. And trying to close someone who's in a big crisis, basically, who's maybe about to move their house, has got something big and significant going on that's happening in their life, then it's absolutely not ethical. Know when to plant the seed and to follow up, not to close. But, and this is more common, it's not the right time. It's often a story that someone is telling themselves, basically, to avoid the risk of being wrong, to not make a mistake. Because here's the thing, there's no right time for anything. There's never a perfect window when all the variables align in the stars and everything feels right and everything feels completely safe. That window just kind of doesn't exist. And the woman who's waiting for it, they usually wait forever. So what do you say to this? You say, I can appreciate that. What would need to be different for you in order to feel like it's the right time? Because if she gives you a specific, concrete answer, then you can work with that. And if she gives you kind of a vague one, then she already knows. This is not about timing. Objection number 5. I've tried things like this in the past, and it really did not work out for me. This one is really important to handle very well because it's genuine. And this woman has been disappointed before. She's tried things, she's invested things, she's put her money into things, and maybe it didn't deliver. And she's not being cynical, she's being self-protective. And she deserves to be met with real honesty here. What you do not do is dismiss her when she's saying that. You don't say, oh, but yeah, but this is different. Because that's what exactly every disappointing thing she ever bought told her before. What you do is acknowledge that fully. Go deeper. Ask her, tell me about that. What happened and what did you try? And then you listen. Like, listen. Because in her answer, you will find out what went wrong. And you will be able to speak directly and specifically to how and why what you are doing is actually different. And it needs to be actually different without just saying that it is. You need to lay out the data points. You need to show her through the conversation itself, through being like really specific. And it's okay that you need to ask those questions to begin with, to figure out how is what you're doing different. Now, I want to close with this. Objection handling is not a bag of tricks. It's not a set of scripts that you memorize so that you can come prepared and tackle all the objections down on the call. It's a practice of deep listening, genuine curiosity, and a willingness to stay in the conversation long enough for the person on the other side of the phone to be able to find their certainty. Every objection you hear gives you clues about where the person's at, about what they're afraid of, about what they need in order to feel safe. And your job is not to overcome all of the objections and come in there with like a sledgehammer. Your job is to understand the objections and then to help the person see through them. If you're ready to get really good at high ticket sales, definitely keep listening to these episodes. And if you want to learn more about how I do high ticket sales, the link to my masterclass is in the show notes. I will see you in the next episode.